Welcome back to another episode of Mike's Mailbag, where I respond to YouTube comments. I do this now and then. I feel like this is a more personal way to respond to you guys instead of only typing a reply in the comments section. But thanks to those of you that take your time to write out responses to what I talk about during my streams. Here's a comment from GFKilla17 talking about Mario Wonder. Mike, the game looks, sounds, and feels like it's made for toddlers with ADHD. Yeah, you know what I needed in my Mario games? I needed flowers to talk to me about every 2 seconds, saying some not clever phrase. In the future, I hope they add in even more interruptions into the gameplay by adding in distracting, awful voices who make little quips.
Everything feels so bleak now.
As if they were a modern-day Bubsy. And I'm also hoping that they add more of those houses where I have to stop in and wait through a bunch of text while the characters say absolutely nothing that is required to get through the stages. That's my favorite. Before I go any further, I need to say something. So there I go, sarcastically criticizing the beloved new Mario game. I'm not allowed to do that, but let's discuss why that is. For a moment, let's visualize what talking about video games on the internet is like for somebody like me. Let's say I decide to talk about Pest Terminator on NES. I can trash Pest Terminator all day long, say whatever I want, and you guys will be right there with me because nobody cares. So to visualize, the scale would look like this. In this case, I'm higher on the graph than Pest Terminator, so I can say anything I want. Call it names, trash it, maybe even trash it unfairly. Be as hard on it as I want to be. It's all good. Screw Pest Terminator, right? Now, let's see what happens when we change the graph to Mario. Uh-oh, now we have a problem. Mario is way higher on the me like it chart than I am. Mario far outranks Mike on the things I like food chain. And guess what? Now I've made a grave mistake by calling those flowers annoying. So watch out, here comes the hyenas. I talked about their beloved flowers, so now I'm in trouble. That's what talking about franchises on the internet is like. The same applies to Batman, Star Wars, game companies, Marvel, or whatever other franchise is higher on the me like it graph than I am. People lose the ability to think objectively because they get blinded by their fandom. But here's the deal. Eventually, we're all gonna drop dead. So I'm gonna say whatever the fuck I want. I'm gonna discuss Mario Wonder just the same as I would shit on Pest Terminator. And if you can't handle it, go back to watching Iron Man 2 for the 90th time or whatever it is you do. Here's a comment from Panzer about Mario Wonder. If the part of the brain that made Disney adults childishly clap their hands and say, "Yay," were a game. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that there's different types of Disney adults. I like the old animations from the 1930s and 40s and a lot of the old comic stuff. In that way, I'm a Disney adult. As far as the parks, I like the old elements the most. Things that were there when the parks opened because I feel like those were at least worked on by some of the old Disney animators. Then there's Disney adults that stand in a line for 4 hours to get a Figment popcorn bucket, which I would not do. The modern day Galaxy's Edge drooling park goers are a different beast. But yes, those new generation Disney adults will love this. Raymondo says, the gameplay in this looks good, but there's something garish about the colors. The shiny plastic rendering style and visual clutter makes it feel really cloying and tacky. Switching from this to a Mario World long play, it's obvious which one is more pleasing and cohesive. Yeah, they totally overdid it with the bloom effect. The Kirby game, Dream Buffet, is like that too. We're in the era of overdone bloom, apparently. Your description calling the visual style garish and tacky perfectly describes it. So good comment. Carnage551 says, Mike, this is the great Mario game of all time. Even you have to admit that, bub. Yes, I agree. It best game ever. Me like game. Me no complain. Thank you for the comment, Wolverine. Exelon1982 says, is this the new generation of men whining crybabies about kids' toys? Hey man, I hear you. I feel the same way. Unfortunately, I work for Man Baby Gaming, which is a subsidiary of Manchild Incorporated LLC. There are strict binding rules and regulations I have to adhere to. Myself and my chat are expected to lie down on the ground in a fetal position and cry once a day, holding our Man-at-Arms action figures. I was stupid, and I signed a contract that stated that I have to whine like a little bitch every day. I'd like to get out of this situation, but the people at Manchild Incorporated are very powerful individuals. Maybe you can help me out of this situation, Exelon1982. I'm gonna give you a picture of them right now, and if you can take care of them, maybe I'll get out of this mess. Thank you very much in advance. Andrew says, since an elephant never forgets, this game will never be forgotten. Yeah, remember Mario Run? How often recently do you hear people talk about that? Remember Nintendo Labia? How often do people talk about that now? Hellseeker1 says, I hear you, Mike. You know what I've learned in life? Never get attached to things. They're just gonna break your heart in the worst way. Everything I've been a fan of either no longer exists or it's been mutated into some ghoulish husk of its former self. The on-screen images were my reply to you. Jiggly Room 88 says, Genesis does what Nintendo don't. They have less bloom. That's one reason I love the Sega Genesis. I know that there'll never be a chance that when I turn on my Genesis, there's gonna be some designer who got carried away amping up the bloom effect. It can't happen because the Genesis didn't just have less bloom, it had none. It didn't exist yet. Death is a primitive concept says, Mike's cynicism is a welcome antidote to all those people gushing about this game. I'm sure it's a good game, but why can't that be enough? The praise I'm seeing seems a little bit over the top. Why do people need to act like new releases are the second coming of Christ? Most people are brainwashed by marketing hype campaigns. Tons of money goes into making sure that it stays that way too. They want their earnings for the quarter to look good, so they hype up the games to get people to buy them as soon as possible. That way these games look successful when they launch. But in modern times, people throw away their new games faster than Sonic grabs rings. Whatever the newest hyped game is, it's replaced a week or two later by whatever the next big title is. Remember Starfield? Remember Stray? What did that last? A day or two? So the next big game comes out, and the previous game is quickly discarded and forgotten. People feel connected to these franchises because they've had good experiences with them in the past, which blinds their ability to look at new releases objectively. They already love it before they bought it because it contains familiarity, which has proven a positive experience many times in the past, without stopping to think, oh wait, maybe these talking flowers are lame. Or maybe this elephant trunk mechanic adds nothing fun to the experience. Just consume, consume, consume. Because like I said, brainwashed by marketing. And most of them either don't know it or they don't want to admit it. Edward says, he came on your head. Weird. That is correct. Mario turned into an elephant and glazed my face with semen that came out of his thick, fat elephant trunk. Please do not kink shame the Mario elephant. And Mr. Brassball says, getting some strong old man yells at cloud vibes in this one. I love how people just repeat the same phrases they've read before on social media. Phrases that somebody else came up with and now have been repeated 100,000 times by other people. Then they drop this as a YouTube comment thinking that they're clever. Okay, boomer, touch grass. Who hurt you, bro? Here's a really old one that us old timers from the 80s used to say that's not as popular with the new overly sensitive Twitter generation. Fuck you.